loser! You're a loser! Are you feeling sorry for yourself? Well, you should be, because you are dirt! You make me sick, you big baby! Baby want a bottle? A big dirt bottle?
What is up, YouTube? Live via satellite here, and today we are talking Kingdom, manga chapter 540. And, yeah, man, Heki is to the point right now where I can clearly say this man needs to be demoted. Like, I haven't seen it in Kingdom. I haven't. I really would love for this man to go back from a general to like a 5,000 man commander. That's all he's worth. He literally needs to be fired. This guy needs to be fired from his job. Nothing he did this chapter was successful. All he did was stack L's. He was actually a complete failure. I actually contemplated for the entire review changing this man's name from Heki to L for the entire review. But then I thought about it, that would be very disrespectful to Stranger Things and Death Note at the same time. So I will not give him that honor. But he does need to be punished. So for this entire review, Heki will no longer be known as Heki. He will simply be known as this guy.
Knock, knock, who's there? This guy.
Alright, so the chapter starts out with a flashback of Rozo and SSJ, and they're pretty much discussing the underground passages that the Ouhon have. At first, Rozo tries to play dumb because he doesn't want to give up his secrets to someone like SSJ, because the Ouhon use these tunnels as pretty much a contingency plan if anything were to happen. But after being pressed by SSJ and being assured that he only wants the location of one of these tunnels, Rozo decides to hear him out. And SSJ tells Rozo that he's figured out that due to the position of the enemy troops and the lay of the land, that their food stores would be somewhere inside this particular forest area. And we find out from Rozo that that's the Rago forest, and that they do have tunnels that lead directly into it. And during this whole conversation, we did actually get a little bit of tension between Rozo and SSJ. And to me, it kind of further cements SSJ's feelings toward the mountain people, because the way he talked to Rozo without addressing him as king shows his complete lack of respect. Because even Rozo says that even Ribokus would call him King Rozo. And I don't know why, but I just continue to get this feeling that Rozo and SSJ, if something goes south, that they may eventually clash. The two of them kind of give me this Vegeta Nappa vibe. Like, because SSJ has that size difference, and I think most people would expect him to be the weaker of the two. But I think if Rozo crosses him or lets him down in any way, I could actually see SSJ pulling a Vegeta and disposing of Rozo before anybody else even has the chance to, just to give him a feat before he would fight Yotanwa or something like that. And I doubt anyone else out there agrees with that, but that's just the type of vibe I get from these two. Back in the present, Rozo can see that SSJ was successful, and he actually thinks he's making things a little too easy for him now, but can't wait to see the Queen's faces in the morning. As the sun rises, we see that the food stores have been burnt to a crisp. And then we get this guy just in complete and utter just defeat. It looks like he's been sobbing all night. So Yotanwa arrives on the scene wondering how much this guy lost, and he tells her they lost half their supplies because they split them into two locations. And seeing that this guy is pretty much on suicide watch, Yotanwa lets him know that they're in the middle of a battle. They cannot afford for him, a general, to be acting like this. They happen to have an underground passage here. Wasn't your fault. Now strap up and put your big boy pants on.
You wake up in the morning, you say, I put on my big boy pants. Look, I'm wearing a belt. I got big boy pants on.
And she even goes as far as to say she'll even share her supplies with him. But he refuses to help because he believes that he can handle this situation on his own. This guy doesn't want to be a burden to Yotanwa, being as they were supposed to be reinforcements. He lets her know that he's already sent word to Kanki to see if he could spare any food, no matter how little it may be. But Katari and Kitari don't think that'll go over too well. So after Yotanwa tells him he needs to get ready for the next day of battle, we see that Katari realizes that some of that food was actually meant for them as well. And Katari brings up the fact that if they don't rethink their whole strategy, the only thing that awaits them is total defeat. And Yotanwa agrees with this. But on a side note, I'm gonna need for Hara to stop putting Katari and Yotanwa in the same panels together. It's making me feel like I'm cheating. I just can't stop staring. Then we move on to this guy doing more stupid stuff, where he's like leading a reckless charge against the Ouhon in order to try to make up for losing the food stores the night before. but instead he winds up taking heavy casualties. And to be honest, the only positive thing that comes out of that is the fact that he has less mouths to feed. Which is good because we also get to see that this guy's other plans also failed. Not a single messenger ever made it to Kanki. The reason being is we get to see that the Zhao have set up a defensive web that isolates all 3 battlefields. The Zhao have successfully shut down all lines of communications, like the Qin army didn't pay its phone bill.
We're sorry. You have reached a number that has been disconnected or is no longer in service.
Then we find ourselves back in the right battlefield in the Shukai Plains, where Shutaku and Kyoko are wondering why they're just standing around having a staring contest and not attacking, because at this point they should have the numbers advantage. But Kanjo then lets them know that Riboku made a move this morning and that they can't be careless. And then we get to see that Riboku's move was to send another 10,000 reinforcements from the center army. And we get to see that they're actually being led by Ouhon. And we see that it's a good thing they waited things out, but at the same time, Kanjo states that it feels like they're back to square one and that all their morale from yesterday's battle just disappeared in an instant. But Ouhon, with his newly acquired general's eye, lets Kanjo know that this is actually a good thing. And then Ouhon goes into a beautiful speech where he tells his men that this is a battle of attrition. And the whole point of it is to weaken the center army. And by having Riboku have to send out these 10,000 men, that has now taken away 10,000 from the center. And once the Osen center army has closed the gap enough, that they will pounce and deliver the killing blow. And that all they need to do is just keep winning on their side. Every time Riboku has to send reinforcements to their battlefield, that means they're getting closer and closer to victory. And that for the sake of Osen's final clash in the center battlefield, that they must keep spilling blood and slaughtering the enemy. And just like that, we see that not only has Ouhon restored the morale, but he has actually exceeded it. And we see that Akko is surprised that he was actually able to deliver that speech at such a high volume, to the point where he has nothing really left to say to his own men, except to move out and that they will once again turn this battlefield into their hunting ground. And then we find ourselves back at the center with Riboku, and his men don't understand why the Qin are cheering so loudly. But Riboku says they'll fall silent again shortly because Rinsojo of the 3 Great Heavens, even though he was a great general and a gifted tactician and seen as equal to Renpa, the one thing he lacked was martial prowess. But that was made up for by the generals who served underneath them. And the one who stood first amongst all of those generals was none other than Ouhon. And that was the chapter in a nutshell, guys. And I gotta say, man, this ending got me hyped for 2 reasons. Not only did it hype up Ouhon, it also gave us a lot more insight on Rinsojo. And the funny thing about this is back when Chigaryu was talking about Ouhon reminding him of Rinsojo, maybe that was only because at the time Ouhon's thoughts were the things that Moten had been telling him. Because when we look at Rinsojo, he really seems more comparable to Moten. Just like how they were talking about how Rinsojo wasn't known for his martial might, but he was more known for his intellect. And that he had talented generals underneath him that pretty much handled the fighting part for him. And when you look at Moten, his mind is on the level of Riboku and Osen. And he also has somebody like Rikusen, whose spear skills are said to be on par with someone like Ouhon, who beat Earl Shi. So when it comes to Rinsojo, he's far more comparable to Moten than he is Ouhon. Which makes me wonder if the other 3 Great Heavens are going to be comparable to Shin and Ouhon. And if so, which one would be Renpa? To me, in my mind, I gotta think it's Shin. So another interesting thing that happened this chapter was finding out about this war of attrition, and to see that Ouhon was actually able to see the game that Osen and Riboku are playing. Basically, it seems like they're trying to force the other's hand to weaken the center. And looking back, the first one to make his move was Osen, when he sent Mako to reinforce the left. And now we see that it's Riboku's turn to send out reinforcements. So that kind of brings them back to where they initially started off the fight. But it'll be interesting to see who has to make the next move to reinforce whichever flank needs reinforcements. But that also brings up the point that Riboku seems to be being way too cautious, because if he knows this is their game, then why not just attack head on with the center army when he already has the advantage instead of waiting to be slowly chipped down? So I have to assume he has some sort of other plan in mind. And over at Heki, there was actually one silver lining I was actually able to take away from this chapter, which is that the entire food stores weren't burned. Lucky enough, he actually split the food stores in half and put them in different locations. which is good because even though the situation is dire, it's not as dire as we thought. And we find out that Yotanwa's food stores weren't with theirs as well. Even though that some of those food stores were meant for them, we still have the Mountain Tribe's original food stores that they already had and whatever Heki bought. And I think he was bringing 10 days supply, so that means he has at least 5 days left, which to me is plenty of time for Yotanwa to try to figure something out. And the way she was talking with Katari, it seems like she knows that it's going to be up to her to clean up Heki's mess. But anyway guys, that was my review for this week. Let me know what you guys thought in the comment section below. Please leave a like if you guys enjoyed the video. Feel free to share, comment, and subscribe. Peace out.